Nobody inside the building said it out loud, but everyone felt it. Something was breaking, not slowly or quietly, but all at once. Phones buzzed nonstop, emails piled up, and executives refreshed their screens like their jobs depended on it. Because overnight the story had flipped. And the wild part? Nobody in the league caused it. One player did, Caitlin Clark, just months earlier. She was supposed to be the future, the safe marketing piece, the ratings boost, the rookie you build around slowly and carefully. That was the plan. Controlled, predictable. But Caitlin Clark doesn't move slow, and that's where everything went wrong. While the league focused on collective bargaining meetings, contract debates, and leaked paperwork, something much bigger was happening outside their control. NBC called, not for a cameo, not for a cute segment, but for prime time, for the NBA stage, for millions watching. And just like that, she stepped onto national television, not as a guest, but as the main attraction. The broadcast began like any other. Highlights, laughing analysts, standard talk, until the host casually said her name. Joining us tonight, Caitlin Clark. Simple, harmless, except it wasn't. The second the camera cut to her, the energy shifted. She didn't look excited or starstruck. She didn't look grateful. She looked calm, like she'd been there forever, like the moment already belonged to her. Then she started talking, breaking down pick-and-roll coverages, calling out defensive mistakes before the replay even rolled, correcting former NBA players mid-sentence. Not asking, correcting. A rookie teaching veterans live on television with millions watching. That's when social media exploded. Instantly, clips flooded timelines. Why is she this good on TV? She already sounds like an analyst. Why isn't she on every broadcast? And just like that, the show stopped being about basketball. It became about her. That's when the quiet panic started.
You need help with the viewership, fam. Now, it was also announced that the president of NBC Sports ended up saying that he might want Caitlin Clark back more than that March 29th appearance that they already announced. Let's take a look at this, man. According to NBC Sports President Rick Cordella, Clark's performance checked every box the network hoped for. The appearance was not treated as a one-off moment, but rather as a glimpse into what her future in sports media could look like. While Clark remains focused on her playing career, NBC clearly views her as a natural fit in front of the camera and someone worth investing in long-term. Something might be nascent here, man. Hey, I'm just saying. All right, so it says NBC Sports leadership weighs in. Rick Cordella spoke positively about Clark's debut, noting that she did a good job and handled the role with ease. He highlighted her understanding of the game and her ability.
Because inside the Women's National Basketball Association offices, something uncomfortable happened. People stopped talking about teams. They stopped talking about games. All the conversations narrowed to one name, Clark. Are you watching this? Why is she trending above us? How did NBC get her first? The questions echoed through the halls, and nobody had real answers. While the league was buried in negotiations and paperwork, NBC Sports moved fast, signed fast, acted fast, and by the time anyone noticed, the moment was already gone.
They need to continue to keep these lines of communication open if all of them are in it to have a season and to get this CBA done. But I do think it's interesting that she's saying that the Players Association is getting ready for that. They want to have the resources so that the players have somewhere to go, and she kind of alluded to it there. So they're kind of preparing for it if they have to. And they're actually not the only place that is preparing for it. Unrivaled is also a place that is preparing for a strike, and we've heard it from other players. Like we've heard Natasha Cloud say, if there's a strike or there's a lockout in the WNBA, everybody can go and play in Unrivaled. Which brings me to my last point on Unrivaled.
You know, I know a lot of people are kind of like hating about being a part of Unrivaled and also trying to negotiate the WNBA, but it's like, I want two things to both be successful. And literally that's how I'm looking at it. Like, I'm looking at this from a pure business standpoint and how things can be great for everyone. I think that Unrivaled, the only thing that Unrivaled is showing is positive. When you show players on social media or in games or wherever the case may be, people watch.
Right.
So we can't not have that for our summer season in the WNBA.
And this is where a lot of people from the beginning have been calling it a conflict of interest, because it clearly is. And I'm not saying that Breanna Stewart has bad intentions. I don't actually think that she does. But she's saying here, I want two things to both be successful. She cannot come out here and say that she cares about the WNBA more than she cares about
the January 5th season opener and January 26th TNT, True TV windows, did not face such competition. Indeed. Well, this last Friday, they didn't face any competition this last Friday. Folks, that's bad. 103,000 viewers. Down 44%. That's nearly half. Nearly half their viewers dipped off. I being one of them. Rudy being another. I'm sure many of you as well said, I ain't coming back. Many of you probably said, I ain't going either. I'm not coming back, and I'm not going to check it out either. Oof. Well, let's get into some positive news, shall we? Let's get into something a little bit more positive. Sunday night basketball, milestone for NBA on NBC Sports. Lakers-Knicks, 4.5 million viewers on NBC plus Telemundo, 5 million peak audience. Most watched regular season Sunday night NBA game since 2002, excludes Christmas Day. Sunday night NBA games. Now, a Sunday night NBA, is that ABC included, or the ABC games Saturday night games from back in the day?
And just like that, the spotlight was stolen overnight. Then the numbers came in, and that's when it really hurt. Every segment featuring Clark spiked. Ratings way up. Clips pulling millions of views every time she spoke. Engagement exploding across platforms. Meanwhile, official league content stayed flat, normal, quiet. The contrast felt like a slap because it exposed a brutal truth. Fans weren't following the league anymore. They were following her. And once fans follow a player instead of the brand loses control. That's when the emergency meetings began. Closed doors, phones face down, tension thick in a room. At the head of the table sat Kathy Engelbert, watching the screens as Clark's face filled them. Everywhere except under league control. Someone finally whispered the unthinkable. What if she doesn't need us anymore? The room went silent, because that sentence is every commissioner's nightmare. If the player doesn't need the league loses leverage, loses control, loses power. And that's exactly what this felt like. Not growth, but a loss of control. And that wasn't the only problem. While Clark was dominating NBC, another highly promoted project was quietly struggling. Unrivaled. Big idea, big rollout, big expectations. But the crowds were small, shockingly small. Reports said barely 20,000 viewers. Sometimes less. Then came comparison. Clark's NBC debut pulled millions, not thousands, millions. The gap was embarrassing. One side was begging for attention, pushing, forcing. The other was pulling it naturally, effortlessly. That's when jealousy crept in.
That Clark was well prepared and comfortable in the setting. Something that stood out given the size of the audience and the spotlight that comes with an NBA national broadcast. Spotlight at Madison Square Garden. Clark's analyst role came during a big matchup between the New York Knicks and the Los Angeles Lakers. A game that naturally draws national attention. Madison Square Garden provided a fitting backdrop for her first major NBA television appearance. NBC Sports viewed the setting as an opportunity for Clark to share her perspective without forcing the moment. Her analysis focused on the flow of the game, player tendencies, and situational basketball, keeping the broadcast grounded and accessible. More Clark already on the schedule. NBC is planning to bring Clark back later this season. Cordell confirmed that she is scheduled to appear as an analyst for the Knicks vs. Thunder on March 29th. He also added that he hopes to see more of Clark moving forward, signaling that the door is open for additional appearances. While no expanded role has been formally announced,
because some players felt it too. Imagine grinding for years, putting in the work, and then watching one rookie take the entire spotlight in a single night. It doesn't feel inspiring, it feels personal. Even established stars like Paige Bucher started getting compared, not fairly, but brutally. Why is Clark bigger? Why is NBC calling her first? Why is everyone talking about her? That's how pressure builds, not from hate, but from comparison. And comparison destroys locker rooms. Then something even worse leaked: internal documents. CBA talks, financial concerns, behind-the-scenes tension, spilling out at the worst possible moment. Now, the story wasn't just Clark dominating the spotlight. It was a league looking unstable, contracts messy, viewership shaky, projects underperforming. And on the other side of that contrast was Clark, breaking records, smiling on NBC, looking completely untouchable.
The fans could get, and yeah, I mean, I guess I'm here for it. I'm here for it if that's all we're gonna get, but I definitely hope that they end up figuring out this whole CBA thing, man. Now, I did see this yesterday, but I didn't too much care to talk about it, man. It's the same old status quo with the CBA proposal, but somehow it was leaked by Ramona Shelburne. I don't think it was leaked by her. I think ESPN leaked it. She just put it on her Twitter, but it's funny that it says confidential and everybody has it now. But anyway, they was just saying some of the things that the proposal is given, right? Substantially increase player salaries to reflect recent and future business growth, promote business health and profitability, maintain incentives for team and league investment, right? So yeah, basically just saying these are the things we're going to be giving them, and this is what they're denying. Now, this could be a play to, once again, win over the public. I don't know. But it is interesting to see that they have the Supermax salary, their projections here. $250 is what was going on last year. Of course, we heard that it could get up to $1.2 million when they do sign the max. And then they were saying in the next 5 years, it could get up to $1.8 million. Now, they also dropped a higher revenue scenario, which
It didn't look like a rookie story anymore. It looked like revenge, like the league tried to control her, and she simply walked around them, took the biggest stage, took the biggest audience, and never asked for permission. That's power. Real power. Because real stars don't beg for platforms. Platforms beg for them. By the end of the week, one truth became impossible to ignore. This wasn't hype. This wasn't a lucky night. This was a permanent shift. Clark wasn't just a WNBA player anymore. She was a basketball figure, period. No labels, no limits. And once someone reaches that level, you can't put them back in a box. The league wasn't leading her anymore. It was chasing her, always one step behind. That's when the fear finally hit. If NBC could do this once, what happens next time? What happens if fans follow her instead of the league? What happens to the league if she keeps breaking records outside their system? Nobody said it out loud, but everyone was thinking it. This wasn't just a TV appearance or a good game. This was the night control slipped, the night the system cracked, the night one player quietly became bigger than the machine built to contain her. And the scariest part? She didn't fight, didn't argue, didn't complain. She just showed up and took everything. The viewers, the spotlight, the attention. And once attention leaves, it rarely comes back. So while NBC celebrated and fans replayed the clips as her name kept trending, league offices sat in silence, because deep down they knew something terrifying. They didn't lose a game or a contract. They lost control. And once you lose control of your biggest star, you don't run the future anymore. She does that. IT didn't look like a rookie story anymore. It looked like revenge, like the league tried to control her, and she simply walked around them, took the biggest stage, took the biggest audience, and never asked for permission. That's power. Real power. Because real stars don't beg for platforms. Platforms beg for them. By the end of the week, one truth became impossible to ignore. This wasn't hype. This wasn't a lucky night. This was a permanent shift. Clark wasn't just a WNBA player anymore. She was a basketball figure, period. No labels, no limits. And once someone reaches that level, you can't put them back in a box. The league wasn't leading her anymore. It was chasing her, always one step behind. That's when the fear finally hit. If NBC could do this once, what happens next time? What happens if fans follow her instead of the league? What happens to the league if she keeps breaking records outside their system? Nobody said out loud, but everyone was thinking it. This wasn't just a TV appearance or a good game. This was the night control slipped, the night the system cracked, the night one player quietly became bigger than the machine built to contain her. And the scariest part? She didn't fight, didn't argue, didn't complain. She just showed up and took everything. The viewers, the spotlight, the the attention. And once attention leaves, it rarely comes back. So while NBC celebrated and fans replayed the clips as her name kept trending, league offices sat in silence, because deep down they knew something terrifying. They didn't lose a game or a contract. They lost control. And once you lose control of your biggest star, you don't run the future anymore. She does.